Hello OLLO community. Today we're going to talk to Gianni Vallino about field recording. I'll talk to him about the most difficult job he ever pulled off. Oh, and I asked him what does he do when he gets into the venue before the band gets there, and Gianni Vallino is going to answer all of these questions just for OLLO audio. Hello everybody, welcome to another OLLO Chat episode. Today we have Gianni Vallino here with us all the way from... Where are you from, Gianni?
I am from Italy.
Beautiful. So Gianni, tell me something. When we talked earlier, you mentioned that you work in location recording, field recording.
Yeah.
So what is this beast of field recording? What is it? Why is it different than any other recording?
Yeah, my main recordings are of big orchestras ensembles, mainly concert band groups. That means from 30 to 50 elements playing wind instruments, so flute, clarinets, saxophones, and percussions too. So what I do is mainly to go with my mobile studio setup in any kind of location the band is, and then recording there with my system.
So when you say you record 50 artists, 50 people, so that is a big system to set up. So is this something that you always do on your own? Do you have other employees? Do you try to rent some help to set everything up? And maybe how much time do you actually need before the artists come to set it up?
We own all our system, and we work in two people. There are me and my partner. So in two people we can set up all. The ensemble is very big, but from a technical point of view is not so big. We are talking about of a 32 tracks system. Because the idea is pretty close to the classical music recording. So I can say the 80% of the recordings come from a overall recording of a stereo recording. Then we add some spot mix on the section of the soloist in case we need some extra level during post-production. We set up all in 2-3 hours. So the workflow is usual. We arrive on location in the morning and start to record in the first afternoon, like 2-2.30 p.m. This is the standard system.
When you have all this set up, what is the next step that you do? So, for example, you're in a different room, in a different acoustics every time. So how do you test the acoustics? How do you adjust maybe some settings? How do you make choices of the microphones and preamps for the specific room? What do you do maybe even before the artists actually came and performed?
Sometimes, honestly, it's pretty rare. We can go in the room before the recording and do some listening tests. But most of the time, we go inside the room for the first time when we have to set up for the recording. So we don't have many time to do some critical tests and all. Our setup is designed in order to do the best we can do for the recording, and then have a lot of space available in post-production. That's the reason because we have chosen an ambisonic system for the recording.
Gianni, you just said a magical word. Ambisonic system. Can we talk a bit about the ambisonics? Why is this so complicated and very few engineers actually understand how it works and what it's all about? Can you maybe explain a bit about the ambisonics, what you're using, and how maybe you're using our headphones with this system?
Sure. Ambisonic is, from a technical point of view, is not so complicated. Is something totally different from the standard point of view of the engineers. That's the reason because just a few people use that. We can think of the ambisonic in terms of a real physical three-dimensional recording. Ambisonics means that you are recording with a 4-capsule special microphone the overall three-dimensional sound. I show you the microphone, what it is. Can you see that? This is the ambisonic microphone. You can see the 4 capsules. Then you record these 4 signals into a quadrophonic track, and then you can elaborate these signals through a specific plugin that will allow you to set up the mic position, polar partners, in the same way as you move that during the recording. So, for example, I can place the microphone, set up the best listening for the moment during the recording, then going back to the studio during post-production, and maybe I can say, oh, I would have a larger stereo, like I placed a larger ORTF, and I can do that through the plugin. These allow to correct that errors that sometimes not good acoustic can reveal during the recording. And in this way I can manage to have the best listening during the recording and then the best post-production for the outcome of the master.
The final product from Ambisonics, is this a stereo track or do you need like some crazy amount of speakers? How do you actually reproduce the sound that you've recorded using Ambisonics?
I can send you that 99% in my case is a stereo output for a music recording, like output on CD or streaming. But with Ambisonic you can easily switch to a multi-channel system. For example, I can do the recording in Ambisonic, then do the mix and master in stereo, but if the client, for example, 6 months later asks me for a 5.1, I have just to open the project and click on a switch that will go on the 5.1 output, as I would have a real surround recording during the session. So it's very versatile in this kind of way.
When it comes to monitoring for Ambisonics or any field monitoring, you're probably using headphones, and I want to pick your brain a little on what you've been using in the past, what you're using now. You do have our headphones as well, and I want to know the scenarios where you use our headphones, and I'm sure there are scenarios where you use some other gear as well. I want to touch based on the monitoring that you use when you're field recording.
Yes, as you told, during the recordings we listen to the headphones. Usually in the control room there are me, another technician that is my partner, and then a musical director and a producer, a publisher, sometimes the composer, someone else. All these people needs to have, first of all, the same listening, because we have all to be sure of what we are placing on the computer. In the past, I have used for years some AKG headphones. And honestly, I've always appreciated this listening was good. Sometimes happened that when I go back to the studio for the post-production, we got some little differences in the overall balance. For example, if during the recording the musical director feels too much bass line, we'll ask to the conductor to have a less bass line during, of the players. But if the listening is not so precise, this could be an error. And yes, we can manage this in the post-production with spot mix, with ambisonic, with EQ and all. But nothing is like a perfect balance during the playing. Then I have switched on OLLO headphones. And the first impression I had is a really precise replication of the live sound. So, with your headphones in control room, we understand that we are listening very close to what the band is really playing. And we don't have this kind of discrepancy between the listening during the recording and the listening in post-production, getting an overall better results for that. So that's the reason why I have switched on OLLO headphones for the recordings. I have chosen the closed back headphones because we usually record in any kind of environment. Sometimes is a rehearsal room, sometimes is a theater. I have a recording, I think, in any kind of room, so we need to be well isolated.
Absolutely. So, thank you very much for all your knowledge and input. I want to know what was the one most difficult recording that you ever made?
Let me think a bit. I think was one time we have recorded a band, a concert band of around 40 players in a conference room. And we didn't have a separated room for the control, so we had to place all our recording stuff in the same room of the band playing. And we have to take into account that for the ambisonic encoding and decoding there is a little latency. It's very little, so usually it's not a problem. But if you are in the same room of the band playing, you are listening in the headphones with a really small delay of the direct sound that you can perceive. So it was, I think, the most critical sound, because we finished the recording without a real perfect understanding of what we placed on the tracks. Thanks God it was everything good, so we didn't have problem during post-production, but during the recording was very difficult.
Beautiful, beautiful. Gianni, if anybody from OLLO community wants to contact you, work with you, have any ideas, where can they reach you?
Yeah, we have through the internet we have our official website that is www.caribumastering.com, and Caribou is a K. We have our pages, that is one is Caribou Mastering, that is dedicated to the mastering side of our job, and then there is Caribou Studio, that is dedicated to the location recording job. So we have kept these two divisions separated to avoid confusion of the different kind of jobs there.
Absolutely. Gianni, thank you very much for your time and your sharing your expertise. If any question comes my way, I'll forward it to you so you can connect with anybody in our network. So once again, thank you very much. I hope we can do this sometimes again and maybe go even deeper into the ambisonics, which is, in my opinion, definitely the future of audio.
Yeah, sure. I will be happy to do that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Until the next time.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.